You just need wins by any means necessary. It could be the prettiest win in the history of basketball. It could be the ugliest win in the history of basketball. For the Warriors, the win is all that they need right now. One way, I think, that really illustrates just how good the Warriors were in this game was they did not need anything from Steph tonight. And the way the Warriors came out and dominated from the jump was really, really impressive, and they really needed it. But one way, I think, that really illustrates just how good the Warriors were in this game was they did not need anything from Steph tonight. Steph hadn't even taken a field goal attempt in the first 4.5 minutes of this basketball game. Everybody else for the Warriors had scored. All other four starters had scored, and the Warriors had already built a 19-6 lead. Steph's first field goal attempt, which he made, was a mid-range jumper with 5.5 to go in the first quarter. So he went 6.5 minutes without even attempting a shot, and the Warriors had already built a double-digit lead. That's how good they were. Not that Steph hadn't scored yet, hadn't even attempted a shot. How long does Steph go 6.5 minutes on court without attempting a shot? And how often does those 6.5 minutes to begin a quarter, to begin a game? Like, that's so rare for Steph. So when you see that from the Warriors and from Steph, what that tells you is they're getting a lot of great shots elsewhere, and the others are making them. Because oftentimes what happens, and it's sometimes why Steph ends up with some super high volume shooting games, because no one else is making shots, and Steph then kind of feels like the responsibility is on his shoulders alone to put up shots and to try to score. It's what happened the last game in New Orleans when Steph returned. And Steph's stats in New Orleans: 23 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. Like a good game for Steph standards, kind of a normal game, but a good game in his return from injury. But he took 21 shots, 7 for 21, 5 of 16. He was kind of a volume scorer in that one. Because oftentimes, and New Orleans was a great example, if he was playing in Atlanta and Miami, specifically in Miami, that would have been a perfect example. No one else is making shots, even wide open shots. So what is Steph going to do? Is Steph going to come down the floor and pass to Moody, who's 0 for 9 from deep? Or is he going to say, you know what, I'm going to try to cook this defender myself. I'm going to give him a couple of behind-the-back moves, a crossover and a step back, and I'm going to take what is undoubtedly a tough shot, but I'm Steph freaking Curry, so that's better than anything else we can get right now. Like, that's kind of where the rubber had met the road for the Warriors at times this year. I think back to that game in Sacramento. It was before the trade for Jimmy Butler, and a lot of people looked at that moment as a turning point. Let's see if I can find the exact game that it was. It was pre-February 6th. I think it was right here, January 22nd. Warriors lose by 6, but they had a lead and they blew it in the second half of that basketball game. There was a moment where the Warriors, they were down, I think it was 3 with like a minute and a half left, and they hadn't scored, at least they hadn't scored a lot in like the whole fourth quarter, and they were just treading water, trying to find buckets. And Steph dribbles the ball up, gets across half court, takes a really deep 3. There was a double team that was beginning to come his way to get the ball out of his hands, but he took the shot before the double team could get there and contest his shot. But it was a tough, deep shot, and it misses. It almost went in, but it missed. And there were a lot of people who were debating whether that was the right decision, like pass to Wiggins, or pass to Moody, or pass to Pajemski, or whoever it was. Kuminga was injured and not available for that game. Or pass to Schroeder, who was still a Warrior at that point. Or take the shot. And I'm always like, a Steph shot is better than anything else you can get. I don't care if it's from half court and there's 2 hands in his face. It's Steph freaking Curry. Let him shoot. I'm okay with that. But that's the decision the Warriors were left with so often. It was, yeah, like on paper, this Moses Moody shot is probably a better shot than this deep Steph and Curry contested 3, but really, who do you have more faith in? And a lot of times it had been, and I'm just throwing Moses Moody's name out there, it's the same for literally every other Warrior. An open Draymond 3 from the left wing or a contested deep Steph right wing 3. What would you rather have? Just give me the Steph deep contested right wing 3. Like, it's just because it's Steph and no one else on the Warriors roster is an elite shooter. So that's where the Warriors have been for so much of this season. Not really when Jimmy Butler's been here, although the last couple of games have kind of been along those lines. But why tonight was so, freeing isn't the right word, but why it felt so good, why it was encouraging, was because the Warriors got to a situation where they did not have to make that decision. They didn't have to take the tough Steph shot because they were getting open shots from everywhere else and the others were making them. So that was really encouraging to see. And as we go beyond what it meant for just this game, now the Warriors are entering the most important stretch of their season against quality basketball teams that are ahead of them in the standings. And if they want a chance to, one, solidify their spot outside of the play-in and in the top 6 in the West and to potentially climb higher, they need to win these games, but one way or another. Like, you were going to figure out and determine and be able to see, like, how much pride this Warrior team had based on the first 6 minutes of this game. They have had slow start after slow start after slow start. Let me just read to you the first quarters on this road trip. In Atlanta last weekend, that was on, Saturday, right? In Atlanta last Saturday, 40-23 Hawks. So you get outscored by 17 in the first quarter in Atlanta. In Miami on Tuesday, 28-22 Miami. So you get outscored by 6. It only got uglier from there. The second quarter was incredibly ugly. The third quarter even worse. So outscored by 17, outscored by 6. New Orleans on Friday, 28-21. New Orleans outscored by 7. So outscored by 17 in Atlanta, outscored by 6 in Miami, outscored by 7 in New Orleans in those first quarters on this road trip. Then today in in San Antonio, you outscored the Spurs by 17 points, 44-27. And it was a 5-0 start. It was a 19-6 start. It was really, really good to see the Warriors begin the game not just shooting the ball well, but also locking in defensively. They gave up 14 points to the New Orleans Pelicans, who are without Zion, without C.J. McCollum, without Trey Murphy, without DeJounte Murray, without Herbert Jones, right? All of those guys. And you gave up 14 points like over the course of the first 4 minutes of that basketball game. Ugly on both ends for the Warriors early in these basketball games. It was as pretty as it's been nearly all year for the Warriors early in this game and really for the entire game. So the first 6 minutes of this game, and you can extrapolate it out to the first 12 minutes, the first quarter as a whole, really important because the Warriors needed to get off to a good start. They've been talking about it for a while. Draymond Green said it after Atlanta. We got to come out ready to play. We can't have losses like this. Then the same exact thing happened in Miami. It happened again in New Orleans. Although they recovered and they still won that basketball game, it was not pretty. It did not happen again